Hello, everyone. Kim Victoria here again, and thank you so much for being here. When I ended the last video, which I made a week ago, I think it was, I needed to take some days off to go help a family member. Anyway, um, I have really worked a lot on these signatures, and I want to be clear with you is that uh, I just, oh goodness, I didn't want to bore you to tears. Oh my goodness, I spent like 3 days, one day on each of these three signatures. And I didn't want to, I spent a ton of time searching for, okay, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Let me get this bin out and see what kind of paper I've got. Ooh, yeah. Really, there's so many decisions. And then my energy starts to flag. So I wait a day and then I come back and work on it some more so that I stay fresh, right? So this signature wound up being quite fat, and I didn't put it on camera for those very reasons because I was back and forth and in and out, and it would have taken just as long to edit as it did to make the signatures. And I made some changes. I added stuff. Oh my goodness, I did a ton. So I got this signature done first, and it got really, really fat. And then I was going, oh, if I make all three of these signatures this fat, they aren't going to fit in that cover anymore. But I think as what I was saying was that I was creating kind of a different focus for the different signatures. Now, the other thing that I chose to do, was I chose to make this truly vintagey. And a part of that making it very vintagey, I didn't have any vintage images that fit the music theme except for the old music book. I I really didn't have anything else. So I went on Etsy and I found some really cool vintage images. And I also found some little what like dictionary, meaning of different musical notations. So I used some printables, and I don't usually use printables, but I think it was really appropriate. I've got a little rubber stamp here, and and then I just used my own. This was tea dye distress ink to distress this, and just cut it and paste it on. And so, yeah, real simple. I did go ahead and turn this catalog page. I did go ahead and use the catalog pages because the fabrics that they were displaying in the catalog are of a vintage nature. So I've got a little paper clip here and I will do something fun with that, but right now it's just paper clip. So what you're going to see in here are just a lot of vintage images. This is one of them. I put on a little bit of lace, made it a pocket, and we have a metronome, another little journaling card. So I'm really happy that I found some vintage images because they enhance it so much. So there's just some brown paper bag paper, some more of the vintage images, and I made a little folio thing. I haven't done that as a part of a journal. So this was just something I was trying something a little bit different to have a little fun with uh, making a little folio to pop in here. Oh, and I should mention here that what the way I worked was I worked on half, on one page, one spread at a time it actually becomes 4 pages essentially, but working on the whole sheet of paper. So in this one, I made that little writing card there and another writing card for this side. So it's a little side tuck. And on the back, this was two pieces of paper that I glued together to create a pocket back here. And that's just some of my coffee dyed paper. So I worked on that, and then I worked on this one. So this was a whole sheet of scrapbook paper, and On this side, I decided I'd go ahead and I did the belly band, and this is a writing board. So I just left it plain back here. And these sides are folded in. I think you can see that so that it creates a maximum width belly band. So this whole thing fits in nicely. And just another, this is actually a 7x7 paper pad, unusual. So I printed out these printables and I just looked for things that were interesting that I could add to it and had some fun with that. So then I worked on it kind of page by page and back and forth and in and out, and there was a lot of in and out, a lot of back and forth, um, and a lot of decisions. And that's what it's all about. It's all finding the papers and making decisions. So was striving to make each spread interesting in some way and not leaving too many blank pages, but still leaving a lot of writing space. So when I do the flip through, when I finish the cover, which will be one more video, when I finish the cover and get everything sewn in, that flip through will be very fast and simple. I won't have to explain everything, but I figured I'd go ahead and kind of explain everything in this video. I also have some rubber stamps, so at least, just kind of put a little something there. And I had mentioned using the vellum, and I decided not to make it quite so tall, so I just folded it over and used a little piece of washi tape on that. And it's actually a little pocket. I didn't put anything in here, and I may yet. These were some of the printables, and just some really nice images. And I will put the name of the companies that I bought the printables from. They were on Etsy, and I will put that in the description box in case you are interested in having more printables. So that's what you're seeing pretty much throughout are these different printables, some washi tape, and I use it works very well on the vellum, the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. It works very well on the vellum, and since I inked the edges of the vellum, you really can't see the glue. It worked really, really well. So there's a recommendation for you. All right, now this, a little flip up, and another printable, the journaling card. And I used my rubber stamps. This was kind of different. What I decided to do for this spread, and I'll take that out. It's kind of interesting to see it this way, is I made two of these, and this is a piece of lace. I had it in my kind of my little kit. There's lace I sewed onto the edge of the pages, and then I glued this ribbon on the top of that. And then I made these little notepad kinds of things, just some little skinny ones, and just stapled it on. And I looked for dictionary. I got these really old dictionaries, so they had this natural vintagey look. And I looked for specifically music-oriented entries in the dictionary, and this one is music. So I took those out, and let's see, on this one, this was more about music, musical and musician and things like that. So another little cuts, little offcuts and things. So that was that spread. And just put some journaling space on this music paper. This was something I pulled from that magazine. It has really nice little paragraph of music information there. Just made a little flip out. I like these little corner pockets with the flip up, a little bit of a cluster. Another cluster, another pocket. Did this one for a side pocket with just a little writing paper in there. It'd be a great place for a photograph, right? And I had a little fun with some envelopes that were window envelopes that were blank, and I used a big rubber stamp to just decorate with kind of a vintage feel, and made just a simple fold in half. Cut this out from one of the printables, and it was exactly the right size for the picture frame that was on this paper that was a paper pad, and just punched a circle to make a little tab. Sits in there nice. This one is Architect's graph paper. So just made a little flip out for that. These were some envelopes that I coffee dyed, and all the glue went away in the water. So I made it into this sort of little flip out. And it's another printable. It was really cute. And another little journaling spot. This was this fun, I also dyed this from a magazine ad. There's another envelope with another fun little thing in it and a piece of writing paper. There's another piece of that architect's paper. I went ahead and made 2 of these envelopes. And this was another printable, just the right size for the picture frame. Really simple. And the envelope I didn't glue down tight to the page. I only glued through the center so it would have flexibility. Some more lace sewn on. Just a little something. Cluster. There's the other side of the little notepad. And another vellum pocket, same as the other one. There's a little tuck spot there. And the back. Okay, so I believe that's going to be signature number 1. So after I made that one and I realized how fat it was going to be, I decided also I wasn't going to put in any modern photographs. I showed that in the beginning that I had a couple of musicians that were from a magazine, Modern Photographs, and I decided now I'm just going to leave this as really vintage as possible, except for those catalog pages with the fabric. And I wanted to make each of these signatures be different. So in this case, I'm just letting the vellum show this pretty scrapbook paper underneath. I stitched along the edge. And for this one, so you can see that one, I just left that plain. For this one, in this signature, I found that I had some old rub-ons. And it took some doing to get them to rub on because I think they'd been out in the heat or something. So they were a little bit resistant. And on this one, I even had to do a little pen work because there were a couple of the elements that wouldn't transfer. So I'm not going to tell you where it is, but I did make a tag. I had some little bits and pieces left over, so I was using those up. This is a nice ribbon, and I just went ahead and created a little pleat and glued it down. Punched out some circles and used my rubber stamps on there. And these were all from the printables. Some of the printables. And this was cute. This was one of the printables, and they had both sides of what may have been a postcard, but I have a postcard rubber stamp, so I put that on there. Isn't that cute? It's in French, so I certainly can't read it to you, but I just thought it was so cute. So there's that. All right, so I did that all at once. And these were the specialty papers that I custom made the lines custom width, so there was more room for writing in them instead of notation. But hey, if a musician winds up with this journal, they could certainly use it to write music because I left it plain. I left the whole thing plain. The only thing I added were these little definitions. Oh, I alternated in this one. That's right. I alternated between quotes about music and definitions of musical terms. Other than that, I decided I would leave this as a very plain journal, just for writing, or notation, whichever way you want to define that. Okay, so that one, I think I'm going to leave that one as signature number 2. And signatures number 3, I got a little fat again, a little bulked it up. So this is again that some of the scrapbook paper. And on this one, it's just the scrapbook paper, but I think the vellum creates a nice little wrap for that. So for this one, I added some lace and I glued the lace on and I glued a little strip of ribbon over the top. Treated a little differently. I used Distress tea dye ink to vintage up this white side and this white paper that when I did that printout. And I made another tag. Oops, I haven't put anything. This is a pocket. I need to put something in that pocket. So I'll be sure to be going through it again. I've gone through it so many times. This was just something I printed out full size. You can get this page in my Etsy shop. It's one of the printables that I got from an 1886 book that I used to have, and I scanned, cleaned them up, and made them available for anyone to print them out. So there's that. And back here, I went ahead and I made a little booklet. So I grabbed some offcuts, a little dictionary page with some musical information somewhere in there. And this isn't quite finished yet because I'm going to sew it in, and I haven't done that yet. So with this one, I have my printables, I have my rubber stamp, and I just had to extend it with another piece of paper because this was from a 7x7 paper pad, so I just needed to extend it. So this is ready to get sewn together, so I'll be sewing this at the same time I sew the signatures. This is the same paper as this one, but you can see what I did, which is I separated in my document program this element from the rest of the element and just spread it apart so that it would fit on a half sheet and look nice. So that's what I did there. And another printable I found had these fun little cartoons from like the 1920s or 30s. They're really interesting. There were a whole bunch of them and they're very cute. I'll give you a little bit of a taste there. They've got all those little stick figures doing something with musical notes. That's from the dictionary again. This is just a big pocket. This is just another little notepad. So this is a little bit different way of doing it. It's a fold over, but I put the notepad in vertically and I stapled it and I covered it over with some washi tape and I added some extra glue to the washi tape so it would stay put. And so this just has a variety of little papers in it. Okay, so there's that. And this is some more of the rub-ons. So I liked that I was able to kind of add just a touch of embellishment to otherwise plain papers. This is dot paper. It came from some kind of a uh, calendar or writing journal. I don't know. I was given these. So yeah, I had a few sheets of this dot paper, like for, oh, what do they call them? You know what I'm talking about. Another one of the little cartoon kinds of things. And you can see the wrinkles here. And what that's about is that I printed after I died. And sometimes there's my printer doesn't like it too much, and so I get little bits of wrinkles. But hey, it's vintage, so it's okay, right? Anyway, so that's what happens there. But it's never jammed, but it's not real thrilled with the dyed paper all the time. Sometimes it goes through perfectly, and other times, nope. So these are rub-ons. I was able to use up that whole rub-on sheet. And another one of those little corner flip outs. One of the one of the companies that I got the printables from had a set of these really pretty, they're actually Happy New Year cards. But I have some antique postcards that were given to me. Oh my goodness, they're amazing. So I'm probably going to be scanning those and making them available. They're gorgeous. So I recognize this as the style from around the early 1900s. So this really looks a lot like the ones I have from 1908, 9, those early years. And so I don't have any with music on them. So I went ahead and I got these printables and I went ahead and I turned them into postcards because these are rubber stamps that I have. So I have these vintage postcard, and this is actually on some of my vintage postcards. So I was really happy to find this um, particular rubber stamp set that had a variety of postcard images. Let me pull that out for you. Here we go. Uh, these are these postcard images. I mean, these were all taken from actual vintage and antique postcards. And I have postcards with many of these designs on it. So I was excited to find this set that had all these different ones. So I wouldn't have to print them out from the computer. I could just rubber stamp them. And there's all these dividers that can be used in a variety of different ways, not just for postcards. They're really nice. Um, yeah, this is from Globeland. You can go to globeland.com. I think they're on Amazon. Um, so yeah, I got quite a few things from Globeland. It kind of clear stamps on a budget for me, which I need. And but this is a wonderful set. I really like it. So there's the postcard thing. And I was using up bits and pieces, so that made a nice little side pocket. This is another Happy New Year, same set also. A little flip open, flip out, a rub on, another one of the cartoons. Isn't that funny? The yeah, cartoons from the past. So this was fun. This was a little bit different treatment. This was another one of those envelopes that came apart in the dye bath, and I rubber stamped it as a whole. So it was just completely, I just left it folded and I laid it on top of the rubber stamp and I used a brayer. I held it down and I used a brayer with the envelope on the rubber stamp face up, putting the paper down on it. So that's a really good technique when you've got a big stamp. The rubber brayer helps get a better impression. This is a fussy cut from the scrapbook paper I was using. This was just a little motif that was left over from a scrapbook kit. I've had it in the stash for a while, and I went, hey, just glue that on, and it creates a little weight to hold it down. It has a hole in it, so I added a ribbon and just put a few bits and pieces in here. And by the time I'm done, there may be more bits and pieces in there, and the other envelopes as well. And you've got the rub-ons, another cartoon. That's okay, that's just a pocket. It's not a flip up. Another postcard thing. Okay, so there's that last of that. So this, I treated this one more simply than the first signature, but it's still, I got to put a little something on every spread. So yeah, there's plenty of goodies there. All right, so we are where we are. Okay, signature number one, very fat. Signature number two, dedicated to writing or musical notation. And number three is not quite as fat, and all three of them fit and would definitely need that closure. So now I can focus on how I am going to put these signatures into this cover. And I have plans for decorating and all that sort of thing. But the main thing is to get caught up to this point so you can see what I did and how I did it. I know that show is better than tell, so hopefully I showed you enough that you get the idea. I don't think I'm doing anything very innovative here at all. I learned how to do everything in here and was inspired to do everything in here by watching all the other creators that I like to watch, you like to watch. I just have different materials, different rubber stamps. And so, yeah, the different thing here was that I went out and I bought printables specifically to be able to make this a more interesting journal. So I think that's all for now. And so I'm going to look at this cover and how I am going to finish it. So I will put that on video. But first, I'm going to figure out how, get it kind of all planned out and have everything ready to go. All right. So I hope this was interesting and inspiring, and I look forward to hearing your comments. And yeah, and if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. So I've got a few more things to do, but mostly these are done. They're just ready to go. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me for the cover. And see you then. Bye bye.